this bread and drink of this cup, you proclaim my death, confess my resurrection, and remember me till I come. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God. We read the Gospel of the raising of Lazarus today, and I want to look at it from the point of wisdom. There is something about this story that can be a great lesson to us as servants and parents, and even on personal level. There is something about Christ's wisdom and how he managed that situation. When you look at the beginning of the Gospel, the Lord did not go immediately, so the story goes like this. There is a family of 2 sisters and 1 brother who live in Judea, very close to the capital, to Jerusalem. But Jesus and his disciples are up north in the map in Galilee. And he is very closely connected to this family. They are his friends. He loved them, they love him. He is used to go to their house whenever he goes down to Jerusalem. He has to stop by, spend a couple of days maybe. They call themselves friends of the Lord. And then one day when he was up in Galilee, Lazarus, the brother, was very sick. Therefore the sisters sent to him, they sent somebody up north, maybe a couple of days' journey, to reach him, to tell him, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick, and they were referring to Lazarus. They expected, of course, that when Jesus hears this, will drop everything and go immediately to heal Lazarus. That's what their expectation was. And then, but the Lord didn't do that. He didn't do it. He just stayed actually even more days where he was, as if he heard nothing. And if you know the relationship and what the people will say when he comes to the town after his death, you will be wondering, what was the Lord thinking about? Not only that, but even when he made the decision to go down to Judea, to the land where Lazarus is. Let us go to Judea, he said again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, lately the Jews sought to stone you, and you going there again? So if he doesn't go, there's something wrong about it. If he goes, there's something wrong about it. It created an anxiety in both parties. The sisters, when is he going to come? When is he going to come? And the disciples, are we really going there? Are we really going there? It's very dangerous. So the Lord said, are there not 12 hours in the day? If anyone walks in the day, he does not stumble because he sees the light of this world. What the Lord is saying here, the decision about going and when to go has to be seen, has to be conceived, something to understand. If you know exactly what you're doing, it's okay. But it's a problem when you don't know what you're doing. It's a problem when you're just giving a slingshot, random actions. These are the problems. What the Lord is saying here, I know exactly what I'm doing and when I am going to do it. Nothing is chance. Nothing left to chance. And he speaks about it in terms of light, seeing. And this is the language of the gospel when it comes to wisdom. A person who has wisdom is a person who sees. A person who does not have wisdom is either blind completely or short-sighted. Things have to be here for a person with short-sightedness to see it. You know how they discover kids with short-sightedness in schools? Teacher would tell you they're always squinting. They're always looking at things and they have to make it very close. So they say, go check this this kid's eyesight, and they always find they have myopia, they have short-sightedness. A person who sees in the Bible is a person who can see far. They can see far away, and they can avoid problems before they happen. They can plan ahead. They can make actions that the consequence of action will be years to come. That's how wisdom is described in the Bible. So there is a wisdom here in this chapter, but it's very weird wisdom. According to human wisdom, these actions of Christ makes no sense. So he waits. So first of all, there's danger in Judea. Let me put it this way. There's danger in Judea. You're going there, you're going to be killed. So what is the wisdom in going? No wisdom. So he stays. Good. But then after 2 days, okay, Lazarus, who's supposed to be going to heal, is dead. 1, we didn't accomplish healing. 2, we didn't attain safety. Where is the wisdom there? There's no wisdom. Human measures. And then he goes there and he heals Lazarus. And you really don't know. So most of the people who read this chapter, most of us, when we read it the first time, we really don't understand why did Jesus do that. He didn't achieve anything. He could have healed him, but why to raise him after 4 days? And why at that time? At the end of this gospel, you will realize, basically, to make it short, that the Jews were planning to kill Christ, but didn't know why. And they were hesitant about it. They were not really firm in their decision. But because Lazarus lives 30 minutes away from Jerusalem, from the temple, raising Lazarus caused a big ruckus, big propaganda. Everybody in Jerusalem heard about him. St. John says, because of Lazarus' resurrection, the people made Palm Sunday. He linked the two together. He said, when people knew in Jerusalem that Jesus is coming to their city, they knew the king is coming to the city of the king. And they came out to celebrate him, which made the leaders, the high priest, and the Sanhedrin very angry, and made them determined. On that day, St. John says, they made a decision. He must die. There's no way around that. Maybe before we were hesitant, but now we are ready. Oh, so why Jesus delay? And why did Lazarus die? And why did Jesus have to raise him? For his own cross. For Christ to save us. Lazarus was a tool, a helper, in bringing the cross. And in bringing the cross, the whole humanity was raised. This is where the wisdom of Christ is. He's saying, we're going through some pain and an anxiety. Nonetheless, must happen so that we can actually bring on a greater salvation, the greatest salvation of all. So here you discern, there's two. Immediately you start noticing something here. There is a wisdom, but there is also a higher wisdom. There is a wisdom that's earthly wisdom, that looks and plans, and yes, smart, and sees years to come. But there's an heavenly wisdom that looks for eternity, something far above every other human being that can think. Those who have faith, their wisdom is different. Their sight is different. It's of a different kind, on a different plane, from a different environment. It has different elements that builds their plan upon. There was in the old times, in the time of David, this is no more the case, especially in the church, and I really lament that. Kings in the old times, especially David and Solomon, they had counselors. I don't know what happened to the office of counselors. I guess it died with Achitophel, I guess. The office of counselors is completely gone. Everybody's serving from their own mind. They don't take advice from anyone. So there was a counselor in the time of David. David the king had these counselors. They were wise counselors. One of them is Achitophel. If you study carefully in the Old Testament, you would notice that Achitophel actually is the grandfather of Bathsheba. Wait a second, Bathsheba. So apparently Ahithophel had not a good feeling toward David, because David had killed her husband and married her after the death of her husband. So he had something in his mind, in his heart, that's not good. When Absalom, the son of David, took over the kingdom and he wanted to kill his father, Ahithophel took advantage and came to him and said, I have an advice for you. Right now, take your soldiers and go. Your father is very tired, running away from you. Kill him tonight. David knew. He said, if my son Absalom would listen to Ahithophel, his advice would work. I would be dead. So he prayed, Lord, make the counsel of Ahithophel look stupid. Make it look stupid in the eyes and the ears of my son, Absalom. And then he sent his own other counsel, Hoshai, his name is Hoshai. He said to him, go and tell him, whatever Ahithophel says, tell him the opposite. So Hoshai said, Lord King, your father is like a wounded bear. If you go and attack him now, he will be 10 times vicious. Wait until you get more help from the tribes. And then David praying for it, Absalom listened to the counsel of Hoshai. Listen to what Ahithophel had done when he heard that his counsel did not work. He left the entourage, the king's set, and he left his home and he hanged himself. Why? As a human being with a great wisdom, he can see what's going to happen. He knew that David will sustain the kingdom. He will come back and he will take the place. He knew as a wise person that this would be the end of him, because he knew that David will not leave him alone. He will kill him. He said, it's much honorable for me to kill myself. This is wisdom. And when we pray it in the liturgy, you come to Vespers or Matins, you would hear, and Lord, disperse the counsel of our enemies, as you disperse the counsel of Ahithophel. What do we need? It's very effective human wisdom, very effective. And it will do harm. And we're asking God to put it down, to cancel it. So you have this human wisdom that is very clever, and we see it. I can actually see it in a good way. You see it with architects, doctors, accountants, tax counselors. You see it with physicians, psychiatrists, you name it. All these people have wisdom. Why? Because they can tell you, if we apply this method, if we apply this treatment, in 5 years we'll get results. You see it with surgeons. Imagine, just you think you're a child, you're a baby, and you're seeing somebody with a knife cutting somebody. And you ask, what's the wisdom of that? They're going to bleed them. They're going to open them up. What's the wisdom of that? But they know in that 2 or 3 hours or half an hour of surgery, they are reaching a goal, and they look at that goal in their own mind and see it happening on the table. That's human wisdom. That's human wisdom. So what you're going to tell me, what's the difference between human wisdom and godly wisdom? In this account, we don't see human wisdom, because there's nothing that's going to come out that is on a human level satisfying. What's the difference? What is the difference between the wisdom of an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, and the wisdom of Christ or any Christian? What's the difference? The premise is the difference. Where they are starting, there is something about them that's different. There is faith. That is the difference. Not only faith, but also love. Not only faith and love, but also patience. They see things that the world does not see. They know things that the world does not know. And based on this information, like any wise person, they proceed. Human wisdom proceeds on human knowledge. Divine wisdom proceeds on divine knowledge. That's what Jesus had done. He disappointed the sisters. He had Lazarus go through hell. He had his disciples go into anxiety. But he knew at the end of it what will happen. Lazarus will be raised, sisters will be happy, the disciples will be protected, but he will go to the cross and resurrect and save us. That's divine wisdom. Now, when I put this on us and say, you and I and everybody, we are like those stewards that Jesus spoke about. When Jesus spoke about him coming back, he said, when I come back, I've given each of you something, and I'm going to require it of you. If you had done well with it, and you planned it with a divine wisdom, look into my coming, I will find you with fruits. I'll find you with things, more things than I give you. And I will tell you, you are a wise and faithful servant. Wise and faithful. But that one person who took the thing that he gave him and buried it in the ground, what did he say about him? He said the opposite. He said that he's stupid and unfaithful. Stupid, not wise. Because he couldn't consider the coming of Christ. He never thought about it. What are we given? Sometimes you think about, how are we stewards? We're given many things. But when we were young, we're giving ourselves. Me. That's all that I need to take care of. After my parents have washed their hands and said, we're done giving you all what you need, I took care of myself. And I had to see what is required, what's coming. If I was in school, I had to study well, abandon entertainment, abandon a lot of things, and stayed with my books and stuck in my room to finish my study and get a degree. That's wisdom, because everybody looks at you and say, we have fun, why don't you come with us? But then also, I thought about my future, eternity, when I'm going to leave this world and I'll be with Christ. So I prayed. And if everybody look at me in my room, looking at an icon at the wall and praying, they will say, this guy is a schizophrenic. He's talking to himself, right? What's he doing? But this is a wisdom that is not understood by the world. When I'm persecuted for Christ's sake and say, why don't you just abandon Christ? Kind of deny him and act like you're not a Christian so that you don't be ridiculed. And I say, no, I can't do that. And I'm among all my peers at work, I'm being persecuted. They say, that's stupid. What's the good of that? He's not going to achieve anything. They might not actually promote him. He'll never be anything in this world. But that's not a human wisdom. I'm acting on divine wisdom. Now, if I get to have children or get service in the church, I'm not only carrying my own weight, I'm not only going and pushing for the invisible eternity that I don't see it now for myself, but I'm also pushing for them that I'm responsible for. And any one of us who had not done a good job in carrying themselves in that divine wisdom, had not done their prayers, had not done their chore of being persecuted, have not done their chore of fasting, they come to carry the responsibility of someone else. What do you think is going to happen? They're never going to be able to do it. The stronger you have as a foundation, the better you are as a steward for others. And that's where Jesus actually is showing us. He's carrying on. Sometimes you don't have to please your kids or to please your kids in Sunday school, to please people around you so that you can bring on salvation, you can bring on something good. That's wisdom. That is wisdom. Wisdom does not see immediate gratification. I have to make everybody happy now. Now. This is short-sightedness. If I always make everybody happy now, it's going to be a problem, a huge problem. That's where I think sometimes we don't think this way. Instead of thinking, and some of us are given this very easy. Some of us have very natural far-sightedness. Some of us are very short-sighted. And everyone else in between, but we all struggle. And then St. James in his letter says, if you lack wisdom, mean that long, far-sighted, go and seek it. Please go ask God. He will give you that heavenly wisdom. So they can see ahead of time, what should I do now? Based on that goal, I work now, not just on the goals of immediate gratification, vending machine mentality. That's not wisdom. not wisdom at all. So that's, I think, one of the big lessons of this chapter, that he didn't gratify anybody in this chapter. Jesus didn't. He made Martha miserable. They blamed him, actually. I believe why Jesus cried in this chapter. This is the chapter where Jesus actually cried. He wept. Why did he weep? I believe he wept because they were all miserable. They were all weeping. He knew he could help it before. So even himself had to go through a hard time for applying wisdom in this situation. He suffered. When he heard them saying, you could have not have him die. You could have come earlier. You should have, you would have. But the problem is, he had a much bigger goal, a farther goal than they all thought about it. And he couldn't explain it to anybody. He had to stand alone with no support, doing the hard thing and coming to an end where he needed to end, where he needed to be finished. But if he did allow their emotions to affect him, and he never, Jesus did that. So I'll tell you one example. One day Jesus was telling his disciples as we're coming to Jerusalem, you know that I will be crucified. I will be handed over to the Romans. They will beat me, they will slap me, they will ridicule me, they will spit on me, and I will die. And Peter got so shocked from the words, he said, God forbid that this happen. No, never. And what did Jesus say? He yelled at him. You hear Jesus yelling from the top of his lungs, get beyond me, Satan. He called him Satan because Satan was talking to him through that compassion, that empathy. God forbid that you should go through any hard time. But that's not wisdom. That's what devilish wisdom. I want to protect you. I'll protect you now. And Jesus said, no, you cannot protect me, Peter. You're just acting with the devil. You want an immediate comfort, immediate satisfaction. That's not going to happen. We have to go through suffering to reach that satisfaction. And it doesn't mean, wisdom does not mean make ourselves and everybody miserable. But we, as a wise builder, a wise physician, a wise surgeon, we plan things. And we know what we can do and what we cannot do. And I do my best, putting in mind eternal things. Things that will last forever. Not just things that will last today. Look at your kids, our kids. All what they ask about is now. Today. I want it now. Give it to me now. And how about tomorrow, Habibi? They say, I don't care. I really don't think about that. It doesn't cross my mind. But you as a wise parent, you say, no, I have to work for now and for 100 years to come. When I'm gone and I'm dust, I want you to be in a good place. So that's why I'm going to force you and push you to study, do well, discern, teach you how to look at things, teach you how to understand things. Open your eyes constantly to see what cannot be seen now and today, whether in this world, whether in the world to come. Because I believe, because I trust Christ, and I'm going to follow Christ. I'm going to put in you the wisdom Christ wants to have, not just the wisdom of the world. I ask and pray that all of us are at least exercise this wisdom and seek it, that we seek to be always counting in our mind. There is something to come that cannot be measured by today and by our eyes, physical eyes, but by tomorrow, by Christ coming. To him is the glory, that is the Father and Holy Spirit now and forever.